So we are 1 week into the cheater-in-chief's authoritarian control of the greatest country on earth, and there's so much to discuss. Biden has made so many terrible executive orders already. The executive branch is swimming in scandals, and the Republicans are being attacked and exiled. So let's get into it. Let's start with the executive orders. Biden actually issued a mask mandate that both his family and his press secretary violated nearly immediately. They couldn't even keep it together for an entire week before being clear and obvious hypocrites. The mandate said you had to wear a mask while on federal property, and yet this woman here, the new press secretary, and Joe Biden both failed to actually do this. Sacking Biden couldn't actually follow the mandate for an entire week. The sad truth is they're just hypocrites to the core. Now let's hear how she reacts to this.
Biden and all members of the Biden family masked at all times on federal lands last night if he signed an executive order that mandates masks on federal lands at all times.
At the inaugural
At the Lincoln Memorial, yes.
I think, Steve, he was celebrating an evening of a historic day in our country, and certainly he signed the mask.
Oh, okay, so it's a historic day. That makes it okay. Rules for thee, but not for me. One of his other executive orders was about that Keystone Pipeline to help bring oil down to Texas from Canada. The problem is he cut almost 11,000 jobs and $2 billion on day one of his presidency. America is suffering under this new president, this failure. This also makes us more reliant on Arab countries that produce oil, thus weakening America as a whole. This is a clear example of America last. I do wonder, however, when will Hunter Biden be getting a job in Saudi Arabia? It seems like it should be any day now, right? Joe Biden's next executive order is getting us back into the Paris Climate Accords. The Paris Climate Accords are nothing more than empty platitudes from world leaders. Some of these countries, like China, didn't even agree to decrease their emissions. They're actually going to continue to increase their emissions according to plan until 2030. And yet Americans have to be punished, but China gets to simply set their goal to be what most studies were already predicting they were going to be at. That's right, they're not actually making a difference over there, they're changing literally nothing. Speaking of rejoining, though, he's also rejoining the World Health Organization for some unknown reason. The organization that just peddles China's lies. Every lie it says, they just eat up, whether it's Taiwan's lack of existence according to China and the World Health Organization, or the clearly fake figures about coronavirus. The World Health Organization will eat up any lie China tells it. Even CNN now acknowledges finally that China lied and people died.
They show authorities released misleading public data on the number of deaths and the number of cases. They took, on average, 3 weeks to diagnose a new case and much more. CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh is breaking this story for us right now.
Of course, they only admitted this after the election, so therefore Trump couldn't point to the fact that China lied and people died, as he said from the beginning. Another one of Joe Biden's executive orders is increasing the federal workers' minimum wage to $15 an hour. This is a $107 billion increase in government spending. That's right. You, the taxpayer, are going to have to pay more so that they can pay their employees more. It's just incredible. During this time of coronavirus and all the stuff that's going on in the world, we need to set aside more money just to pay employees $15 an hour. And just the federal workers, for some reason, because apparently government workers are better than everybody else, according to Joe Biden. Now, there's a couple of executive orders that he is yet to do, but very likely to do, as of the recording of this video, and I want to talk about two in particular. The first one being Trump's Mexico City policy is expected to be repealed, meaning the federal government will once again fund abortions in other countries. We have people in America with serious problems. Why would we ever fund another country's abortions while we still have homeless people here? Like, it just makes no sense to continue to do this. Like, honestly, what is the logic here? And of course, the other one I want to talk about is Biden trying to re-enter the failure that is the Iran nuclear deal. Do you think there will be another huge payout to the evil Iranian government? Obama's deal would have allowed Iran to get a nuke by just lying to us because there was no independent inspections. They could just tell us, no, of course we're not building a nuclear bomb. Why would you think we're building a nuclear bomb? Don't mind all the nuclear material behind me. That's irrelevant. That's nothing. I mean, really, what could go wrong with giving a regime that hates us and chants death to America? What could go wrong with giving those people nukes? I have no idea. And now we're going to move on to all the scandals, just the vast number of scandals that the media is trying to hide from you. First up, we have Biden setting a goal of 100 million doses by his 100th day. When he took over, thanks to Trump, 1 million were being administered per day already. This means, just like the other countries' goals for the Paris Climate Accords, this was going to happen regardless. He's not changing anything. He's not doing better than it was when he got into office. He's just riding on the coattails of Trump. Now we move on to the National Guard. The National Guard was forced to sleep in parking garages, and the Biden's response was for Jill Biden to give out candy. So they are now coining this, I think, the new holiday of Troops or Treat, where you go around giving small favors to troops instead of actually giving them warm beds to sleep in like you should, because they were there literally to protect you. Okay. Tell you what, let's move on to the inauguration before I start yelling about this. First off, before Joe Biden even became president, Kamala Harris was actually sworn in, which means she was technically the vice president under Trump. That means that Kamala Harris was the first female vice president under Trump. Trump got that first too. Joe Biden won't even get credit for that in the history books. But while we're talking about Joe Biden, let's talk about the fact that he was sworn in 10 minutes early. Based on the media's track record, if a Republican had been sworn in even a single second early, they likely would have started calling it a coup d'etat. Like, honestly, there is no consistency among the media. This media bias brings me to all the political persecutions that are going on while Joe Biden is president. Trump is being impeached even though he's no longer in office and not actually eligible for impeachment because, by definition, impeachment requires you to be removed from office. Even the Constitution literally says removal from office and disqualification from holding future offices. This means the entire impeachment is moot because they can't actually impeach legally. It cannot happen. But breaking a few laws has never stopped the left before, so why should it now? And since they still fear him even while he's being impeached unconstitutionally, yet again, Parler is now being bullied by all the big tech corporations. What happened to the tolerant left standing up for free speech? What happened to the tolerant left actually trying to defend the little guy? Amazon actually broke their contract and violated the law by doing so to get Parler off of their services. That's right. Amazon is coming after a smaller competitor just for the simple reason of that competitor likes free speech. And what do we hear from the left? Silence. All of these actions and authoritarian moves need to be put into perspective with AOC asking, is anyone archiving these Trump sycophants? That's right, she's making a list, and I bet she's not checking it twice. But really, is anybody at all surprised that AOC would call for the rounding up and destruction of people's futures that disagree with her? She's the kind of person that thinks free speech is only free when it agrees with her. And if you don't believe me that the left wants this list of people, there is a PBS lawyer who got fired because he was calling to take your children away to re-education camps. How much more authoritarian can you be than having re-education camps? The left is trying to take every bit of power and control every aspect of your life. They will never be satisfied until you submit to them. They don't want unity, they just want submission.